Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This is going to be a little bit different and shorter video than I've done in the past on my updates on the presidential race and my thoughts on where the race stands at the moment. Obviously, the race for the Democratic nomination for president has somewhat faded into the background as the United States and the world is confronted by a global pandemic that is a threat to all of us, and everyone should be following the guidelines set out by the CDC and the World Health Organization and your state and local officials. So the race at the moment is kind of in a place of suspended animation. You have states that have rescheduled primaries and caucuses and really put the race in flux. But it is really abundantly clear at the moment that former Vice President Joe Biden is in the driver's seat. He is well on his way to winning the nomination of the Democratic Party to be the presidential candidate. And of course, he had the announcement Sunday night during the debate that he would choose a female running mate. We also had this morning the surprise, this morning as I'm recording this video on March 19th, the surprise announcement from Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard that not only was she dropping out of the race, that she was endorsing former Vice President Joe Biden. I think most people anticipated that when she did drop out, if she even dropped out before the convention, that she would endorse Senator Bernie Sanders. Famously, Congresswoman Gabbard endorsed Bernie Sanders in 2016, was a big prominent supporter of his, and when the Russian hacked emails leaked at the Democratic convention, she famously refused to endorse Hillary Clinton, and was considered for a cabinet position in the Trump administration. There's some ambiguity on whether it was Veterans Affairs or, as some quarters suggest, even the Secretary of State position. The leaked transition documents from Axios suggest it was Veterans Affairs, but I read incredible news sources at the time that it was Secretary of State, along with Veterans Affairs. So there is that. So now we're down really to two people. It had been that de facto for a while, but now it's official with Congresswoman Gabbard dropping out of the race. Bernie Sanders and his supporters, I think, really need to take the time and assess where the campaign goes from here. The next big day on the primary schedule is going to be April 7th, when you have the Wisconsin primaries. On the 4th of April, you have Alaska, Hawaii, and Wyoming. Very small states in terms of population. And on the 29th of this month, you're going to have Puerto Rico with their primary. And then the 28th of April is a big day. You have really the Excella primary. You have Connecticut, Delaware, New York, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island. And then you go into May and June with some other primaries. Look, I think that Bernie Sanders and his supporters really need to ask themselves, do they want to go forward with this? The delegate count at the moment is currently 1,181 for Biden, 885 for Sanders, with 1,991 needed to win the nomination. Biden has been sweeping Sanders. The states that Sanders has won is New Hampshire, Nevada, California, Colorado, Utah, Vermont. He won the North Dakota Fire Hall primary, and he won the Northern Marianas Islands. So he's really far behind. It's impossible for him to catch Biden at this point. And I think that he really needs to think about what he does by continuing on this track. I know this seems far off now, but the convention is July 13th through the 16th in Milwaukee. If he dropped it out now, it would allow Biden to begin the process of putting back together the party. It would allow Biden to begin the process of healing the hearts of Sanders supporters that I know they will be very disappointed, and begin the process of unity. It will also, I think, allow Sanders to go to the Senate and fight for those issues which he believes in and should be included in any stimulus bill and bailout of certain industries. So, my opinion on this race is this. It's a foregone conclusion at this point who the Democratic presidential nominee is going to be. I want to say this. Leadership is on the ballot in November. Credibility of leadership is on the ballot. We have a president who lies constantly. Donald Trump had been really lucky up until this point that he did not have a crisis that commanded people to take guidance from the White House seriously. He had not been faced with a national calamity or high stakes event that took where people needed to trust the guidance from the White House seriously. And he is in that now. I disagree with Vice President Pence on many issues strongly. But I think he has been a far better spokesman for the White House than the president. And while Trump has, in some sense, acted in a way better than I thought he would. There has still been notable moments where you're like, oh my God. His disastrous Oval Office address, and even the daily press conferences where he gets out there and will squabble about meaningless things. His use of derogatory and racist terms to describe the virus is also very troubling. Our country and the world is facing a very serious threat. And not only that, the economy is on the verge of a very big downturn. We had a really... The economy was already showing signs of correction. But this is going to be on a whole nother level. And I hope when we come out of this that we really think about where we want to be as a country. This event has forced me to rethink a lot of positions I have held about the economy for a long time. And I used to be a person that said, you know, the private sector is always the answer. I am really rethinking that position. I think that the government, there are times when the government now is the only thing that can move meaningful action. And we have seen, I think, a failure of leadership in some quarters in this crisis. The governor of Florida refusing to close the beaches. He's left it up to local officials. And you have some local officials who are not closing the beaches. Close the beaches. You have the governor of Oklahoma who posted his horrible tweet over the weekend of going out. You have prominent Trump supporters that are floating online conspiracy theories. You have, of course, the Fox News side by side that showed that, Fox News was terribly misleading its viewers. And you still have some on the right who are downplaying the seriousness of this. So, and you have the United Kingdom that had just a horrible out the gate response and is now only trying to catch up. So I'm gonna get off here, but as I've said, I think this race is over. I think that Joe Biden is going to be the nominee. I may post a video in a few days to give my thoughts on who I think will be his pick for vice president. It'll be really easy on the gender. And I think that while at first I was unsure about it, I think this is one of the most brilliant moves in modern political times. So I'll see you all. Thanks.